Hello, the terrible trio, my mighty speakers of public speaking class. Glad to see you this evening. I hope you're doing all right. It's only 8 o'clock here and it feels like it's about midnight. It's Tuesday night. I got to get this thing ready for you tomorrow. And so I'm going to, glad that you're here. I hope that you are having some rest. Hope that you're healthy and just having a good time. We're beginning a new section on debate. So if you'll notice on the page when you come in, there's a lesson that says follow my PowerPoint. It's a PowerPoint on the anatomy of debate. Read that, watch over it. And also I'm going to have a video or two on this page that you need to watch. There's going to be a high school debate championship that was taking place a couple of years ago. And it kind of shows us what a high school competition looks like in debate. Before I get started, I want to ask you, while you're gone these next couple of weeks, we're mainly going to be just watching videos and talking about what debating is. It's hard to debate online, but I might throw out a question and get you to debate it. But we'll get into that maybe in a couple of days. Today, I just want to do some introductory stuff. It's not going to be too complicated. First thing is, what is debate? If you think about, you've heard that term used a lot. I'm going to tell you what debate is. Debate is what you put on the hook if you want to catch the fish. Just kidding. I knew you guys would like that. No, debate is really an argument or organized argument. It is when two sides try to talk to one another about an issue, and they try to come at the truth. Plato, you would say that debate was the search for truth, and the goal was not necessarily to beat your opponent, but the goal was to find truth. And so, but there's some different parts to a debate. There's different types of debates, and so when you go online, when you go on the PowerPoint, you're going to see some interesting words that we're going to be talking about. The first big part of a debate is the constructive speech. The constructive speech is when the person is defending their case and they're stating their position, and it's a very organized, persuasive speech. Remember when we did the 5 steps of persuasive speaking? Well, that was to get ready for debate because you use persuasive style in trying to build a constructive case, to use in a logical way to win your case and to show that your side is correct or your side is right. It's called a constructive speech. Now, there's 2 basic sides to every. Hold on a minute. Oh, excuse me. Y'all aren't boring me. It's just my sleepy time. I should be in bed right now. But anyway, there's 2 basic sides to a debate. There's the affirmative and the negative. Now, when the affirmative side, their job is to challenge the status quo. The status quo is the way things are. For example, if you are, you think we need to build a bowling alley at Oakdale. We don't have one. Status quo is we've got a basketball court, a gym, volleyball court, baseball field. That's about it. That's the status quo. That's the way things are. The affirmative side is the side that wants to build a bowling alley, right? They just think, man, we need to stick it right in the middle of the soccer field and it'll be great. The negative side, that's the other side. Now, their job is to say, no, we don't need a bowling alley. We need to keep things the way they are. And so that's where they go back and forth. Excuse me, again, it's 8 o'clock here and it feels like it's midnight. Anyway, stop laughing at me, Trey. So anyway, and the negative and affirmative, they're the sides. And each side is going to do a constructive speech in which they point out what their position is and why their position is the best position. And then there's other parts that take. The next thing is called the refutation. The refutation is when once your side has made its case, the other side comes along and tries to refute the things you've said. And now remember we talked about fallacies the other day? And we talked about the ad hominem attack where you attack the person and not the issue, or the red herring where you try try to trail off and not really address the issue so you can look like you're winning when you're really just diverting everything, or the tu quoque, where you just call the person a hypocrite and say, well, you're not any better. All of those, and the straw man attack, when you falsely accuse somebody of a different motive. There's all sorts of fallacies, and what they are, those are things you want to avoid in a debate. In a refutation is a logical argument against the ideas of the opposition. For example, if Trayton is arguing that we need a bowling alley at Oakdale, and he says, it'll bring income into the school, Vera is on the negative side. She's saying, no, that's ridiculous. Let me tell you why it's not going to bring income into the school. You see, that's a refutation. Now, the next part is called the rebuttal. The rebuttal is the answer to the refutation. When somebody has refuted your argument and they've really just tore it up and they've said, you know what, you're wrong, your argument is wrong, it's not logical, let me tell you why it's wrong, let me tell you why your facts aren't straight. The rebuttal is when you come back and try to rebuild your case. I'm so sorry, I'm yawning. I should have done this in the morning. The rebuttal is when you're basically, you answer back. And when it's your turn, you answer back and say, no, wait a minute, that's not true. Here's why it would bring money to build a bowling alley at Oakdale Christian Academy. And so that's the way that goes. And then once you've done that, there's the fun part. I think it's the most fun part of the whole debate, and it's the cross-examination. And that's where the two people are standing side by side, and the person who has just given their speech is questioned by the opposition. And the opposition says, well, now when you said this, what were you trying to say? Or what did you mean when you said that? Or where did you get your facts? And it's an attempt to poke holes in the argument, and you put the other speaker on the spot, and they've got to answer the questions. That's really a fun part. To me, that's the most exciting part of the debate, because you get in there and you've got all these brilliant ideas and you've stated them, and you've practiced, and then somebody comes along on the other side and says, yeah, but what about this? And you have to answer right there on the spot. And so that's when things get kind of hot, crazy. The next thing is at the very end of the debate, after you've had a couple of cross-examinations, a couple of speeches, we'll get into the exact makeup of the debate later. You have the summary, and the summary is simply both sides get to make their final argument. It's kind of like, if you've ever, do you guys remember when we were watching the movie God's Not Dead 2, and they had the court case? And one of the reasons I wanted to watch that movie was because it showed how the defense and the prosecution went back and forth at each other. I bet you recognized some fallacies in their arguments. I bet that you saw how they defended and they built their case. And at the end, both sides are given the right to make summary statements. This is the last appeal to the jury for your side to win. Well, that's what you do in a debate, except it's not a jury. It's usually a panel of judges, 2 or 3 judges, and you got to make that final statement. You got to try to fix whatever fallacies they threw at you, or whatever places they messed up your argument. Then you got to attack their argument one last time, and so that's when it ends. And then score is taken. Judges decide who won the debate. That's kind of, and we're going to do some of those, Lord willing, if we ever get back to school. If not, we'll just do them online. I'll figure out a way. Anyway, the other thing we're going to look at, and I probably won't address this much until later, there's basically 3 types of questions in a debate. There's the question of fact, and that's when you're debating whether something is or is not true. Right? That, for example, the debate, does God exist? Well, it's either true or false. It either does or it doesn't, right? And so the argument is over whether that is true. Now, the other argument is a question of policy. Question of policy is, should we, like, for example, building the bowling alley at Oakdale, that's a policy question. Should we do this? Should we make this change? Should we promote this idea? That's a policy question. And the third question is a question of value. And this is the one we're going to do the most. And it is whether something is of value or not. For example, if I say that, is it just to give a speeding ticket to somebody who's only going 5 miles over the speed limit? Is that justice? See, it touches on a value like justice or mercy or honesty or something like that. You know, is it the loving thing? Is euthanasia, for example, a loving thing? Some people would argue that it's a loving thing. Others do not. But that would be a question of value. One debate that you might get to listen to, a couple of high school students debated, is it justified for one country to intervene in the affairs of another country in social justice issues? Well, that's a slippery slope. There's a lot of questions that go with that. Is that kind of thing justified? You know, if America sees another country oppressing its people, do we have the right to intervene in that situation? Or is that justified? Or maybe we should not do that. That's a big debate. And so there's all sorts of things like that. And you could probably think of some different things that people debate in society today. You could probably make a short list right now of big debates there. You know, for example, is it justified to have a vaccine mandate? The President of the United States is issuing vaccine mandates. Is that justified? Is that right? That's another value question. And so those are the kind of debates we're going to be doing. And we're going to look at some famous debates that took place and that kind of thing. So I'm going to have some of this online for you to watch in video. Anyway, your main deal, it's going to be pretty easy in this class. You're going to watch some debates. I'm probably going to throw out some questions for you to mess around with and try to play with and work on writing a constructive speech, that kind of thing. Then when we get back together, we're going to have some debates in person. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you for your time. You know what, I may actually, come to think of it, I might just do a Zoom chat debate time where all 4 of us are online together in a Zoom chat debating an issue. I'll get back to you on that. We'll just see how that goes. Anyway, listen, I hope things are going well. If you need anything, contact me with my email. It's mdriscoll48@gmail.com. That's my email. Or you can friend me on Facebook, and we can talk on Messenger. Whatever you need to do. Or we can use WhatsApp. If you have WhatsApp, I've got that. You can do that too. So anyway, we'll get together again. Watch the videos that are on the lesson for this week, and look at the PowerPoint and just become familiar with it, and then we'll get more in depth as we move forward. All right? Take care. God bless.